Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming OCS exams happening in February 2026. My name is Nicholas and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for OCS at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes. First things first, I'm going to teach you crucial answering and time management technique. Without knowing these two techniques, you will struggle with this examination because as you know, in this exam, the examiner is not just testing your theory knowledge and application skills. The examiner is also testing whether you can manage your time and manage your stress levels. So it's essential that you know how to manage your time effectively, because if you run out of time, you won't pass this exam in most instances. So it's essential that you understand these two techniques with the intention of understanding how to structure your answers properly, how to ensure that you are developing the highest quality answers, and at the same time, how to manage your time appropriately as well. And after teaching you these two techniques, I will take you through one of the mock exams which we have developed for you, which is mock exam 2. I'm going to direct your attention towards one of the subtasks, thereby explaining how to implement these answering and time management techniques in a practical manner. And before we get into the nitty-gritties, let me quickly remind you of the upcoming webinars and workshops we have scheduled for you. So as you know, as I mentioned in last week's webinar, we are taking a 2-week break after tonight's webinar, given the fact that everybody will be busy with festivities tied to Christmas as well as the New Year. So we are taking a 2-week break and commencing our sessions from the 3rd of January 2026, and I will be conducting the 4th webinar at the same time, which is 17 GMT or 5 p.m. UK, in which I'm going to share stress management techniques with you, because as I mentioned earlier, the examiner is not just testing your theory knowledge and application. The examiner is also trying to figure out whether you can manage stressful situations, because it's a tough environment in which you have to attempt this exam, because across 3 hours you have to attempt 4 sections one after the other, which is not going to be easy, especially towards the final 2 sections. So it's essential that you understand how to manage your stress levels. So that's exactly what I'm going to highlight in the 4th webinar. And also I will take you through examiner's comments, thereby directing your attention towards the exam blueprint, to make sure that you gain an understanding of what the examiner expects from you when conducting preparations and on the day of the exam. So once we are done with the webinar series, we are kickstarting our workshop and masterclass series, which is focused on each syllabus pillar. So in each of these workshops, I will be explaining what is contained within each of your syllabus pillars, namely F1, P1, and E1. And also, similar to what I'm going to do in today's session, I'm going to conduct a masterclass focusing your attention towards, a mock exam or a certain subtask of a mock exam, which is focused on either F1, P1, or E1 related questions. And in the final workshop, which happens just 2 or 3 days before your examination, I'm going to share last minute tips with you to make sure that you are capable of walking into the exam with a high level of positivity. Because as per the CIMA examiner, if you believe in yourself, if you're confident about the skill set which you have gathered by conducting preparations according to a study plan, then you can easily pass this examination. So just like what you have done in the previous week, I hope you will attend these webinars and workshops without fail, so that you gain an understanding about the technicalities behind this exam. Also, take steps to improve your knowledge, and this is the best way to keep tabs about your performance on a weekly basis by attending these weekly webinars and workshops. So having said that, let's try to understand how you should structure your answers. So we at TCS, we have come up with a 5-step process when it comes to developing answers. So first things first, before you think about structuring your answers, you need to gain an in-depth understanding of what's highlighted within each scenario, and you also need to gain an understanding of a clear understanding of each and every requirement before you think about developing answers. So first things first, you have to read the scenario. And when it comes to reading the scenario, always remember each requirement or each section rather, or each scenario will comprise of an additional set of information via reference material. So as I mentioned in last week's webinar, let's assume you are in section number 1 of a certain paper or your exam paper. Within section number 1, you will see either one single reference material, or you might see 2 or 3 reference material as well. So always you are going to see a reference material in each section, and in some sections you might see 2 or 3 reference material as well. So within 5 minutes, you should have the capability of reading through all information which is contained within each section, which includes the information contained within the reference material. So let me quickly explain what I'm talking about. So I'm going to direct your attention towards mock exam 2, section number 4. So there is a scenario which indicates something which the company is facing at the moment. It can be some type of an opportunity the company is trying to exploit, or it might be tied to some type of an issue the company is trying to fix at the moment. So you have to read through this entire scenario, as well as you'd see the requirements in bullet points as per what I highlighted in last week's webinar. And as I mentioned a while back, you will gain access to some additional material via additional information rather via a reference material. So if you look at this section carries just one reference material. All right, so you need to read through all this information within just 5 minutes. I don't mind even if you take 7 minutes, but if you go beyond this, then you are definitely going to struggle to manage your time. So if you feel that your reading speed is not up to the required level of standard, if you feel that you cannot read the entire section and the reference material within just 5 to 7 minutes, then you have to take steps to practice your reading speed. So the only way to practice your reading or improve your reading speed is to practice reading. And with this in mind, purchase your weekend newspaper and dedicate 30 to 60 minutes on a daily basis, and start reading the entire paper on a daily basis, because the only way to improve your reading speed is to keep reading. Okay, so you have to dedicate 30 to 60 minutes of your time on a daily basis and practice your reading. You can either read a newspaper, or you can focus your attention towards reading some type of a book. So I'm not really interested about how or what you read. The objective should be to practice reading on a daily basis by dedicating 30 to 60 minutes of your time. So that's the first step. The second step is so after you have read through the entire scenario and the reference material, you know what the scenario is all about. You know what type of an opportunity the company is trying to exploit, or what type of an issue it is trying to fix. And then your next step should be to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a concise manner. So if you look at this section, you can clearly see that there are 3 different subtasks. So you have to simplify each of these subtasks to achieve 2 main objectives. Objective number 1 of simplifying the requirement is to gain clarity. It's essential that you gain a clear understanding of what you are expected to achieve. If not, you will end up developing an answer which is not aligned with the requirement. If so, you won't gain any marks. So the first objective of simplifying the requirement is to gain clarity, to gain a clear understanding of what you are expected to achieve under each and every subtask. And the second objective is to make sure that whilst developing the answer plan, you are going to understand what an answer plan is in a little while. I'm going to explain these elements. For now, simply try to understand this logic. You are supposed to structure your answer or dedicate some time to plan out your answer. So when you're structuring your answer, let's assume you are halfway through your answer plan. You want to check whether you are developing an answer which is aligned with the requirement. You can easily check this when you have access to a simplified requirement at your disposal. So the second objective of simplifying the requirement is to make sure that you can easily, whilst developing the answer plan, you can easily refer back to the simplified requirement and see whether you are developing an answer which is 100% aligned with the requirement or not. So in order to achieve these two objectives, you are supposed to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a concise manner. So let's try to figure out how we are supposed to tackle this. So if you look at the first subtask, this is quite long. Let's read through this subtask to understand what this is all about. You are supposed to explain the figures shown in the payoff table and how the maximax, maximin, and minimax regret decision criteria would be used to select the number of robot cutting machines to be deployed. Please also state the number of machines to be fitted. So this is an extremely long requirement, and especially when you are operating in a time pressured environment, especially if you're exposed to extreme levels of stress, you'd find it extremely hard to really get your grips about what this requirement is all about, or gain a clear understanding of what this requirement is. So that is why I want you guys to, before you develop your answers or before you structure your answers, I want you guys to simplify each and every requirement. So I've simplified this requirement in this manner. We are in section number 4, as I mentioned earlier. We are supposed to explain the payoff tables and the decision criteria. The figures shown, you are supposed to explain the figures shown in the payoff tables and how the maximax, maximin, and minimax regret decision criteria would be used to select the number of robot cutting machines to be deployed. So the entire sentence, I've simplified it as explain the payoff tables and decision criteria. And based on your explanation, please also state the number of machines to be fitted. So recommend the number of machines to be utilized. So likewise, you are supposed to simplify the requirement. So let's look at the second subtask. You are supposed to explain the pros and cons of using expected values for this decision, and how we can determine the value of perfect information, pros and cons of using EVs or expected values, how to calculate the value of perfect information, and directing your attention towards the final subtask. Hope you can describe how these probable redundancies can be handled in an ethical manner, managing redundancies ethically. So as I mentioned earlier, the prime objective is to gain clarity by simplifying each requirement, and at the same time, whilst developing the answer plan, you can always easily refer back to a simplified requirement to figure out whether your answer is aligned with the requirement or not. All right, so that's the second step as per our answering technique. And then once you have understood each requirement, you have to determine the headings and subheadings. So the headings should be aligned with the number of subtasks you see within each and every section. So if you look at this requirement or this section, there are 3 different requirements or 3 different subtasks. And therefore, when developing your answers or when structuring your answers, you need to come up with 3 main headings. So if there are 2 subtasks within a section, you need to include 2 main headings. And alternatively, if there are 3 main subtasks within a section, then you need to come up with 3 main headings. And always remember, each heading should be in bold and underlined format. And when you stick to this methodology, the marker can easily see where you are starting the answer for a certain subtask. So if there are 2 subtasks, you need to have 2 main headings. And if there are 3 subtasks, you need to have 3 main headings. Each main heading should be in bold and underlined format. And on top of that, as and when necessary, you can utilize subheadings as well. If so, if you want to further faction out your answer within a certain subtask, then you are invited to use subheadings. If so, subheadings should be in bold format. So that's exactly what you can see in here. I'm going to scroll down to section number 4 because I'm going to direct your attention towards one of the subtasks which appears within section number 4 in today's masterclass, which I'm going to conduct towards the very end of the session. So as you can see, focused on subtask A, I've developed a main heading which goes as number of robot cutting machines to be deployed, which is in bold and underlined format. And also I have used subheadings which are in bold format with the intention of further, fractioning out my answer or enhancing the structure of my answer. So I've utilized three different subheadings, which goes as Maximax, Maximin, and Minimax Regret. And also, yeah, okay, so that's what I've done. And each subheading is in bold format. So that's for the first subtask, and there's a second subtask as well. So focusing on that element, I've come up with another main heading, which is in bold and underlined format. And focused on the third subtask, I've come up with the final main heading, which is again in bold and underlined format. And as I mentioned earlier, in order to structure my answer effectively, I have utilized subheadings which are in bold format. So that's the third step. So now you have read through the entire scenario, you know what the requirements are, and you have indicated the headings and subheadings. Now it is time for you to develop the answer plan or structure your answer. And when doing so, you are supposed to dedicate 20 minutes of your time and develop answer plans focused on all subtasks which appear within a section. So within 20 minutes, let's assume within a certain section there are 3 subtasks. If so, within 20 minutes, you should have the capability of developing answer plans focused on all 3 subtasks. So if you look at section number 4, as I mentioned earlier, there are 3 subtasks. So within 20 minutes, you are supposed to develop the answer plans concerning all 3 subtasks. You're not supposed to just focus your attention towards one single subtask. Instead, you are supposed to cover all 3 subtasks and develop an answer plan within 20 minutes. Although I'm asking you to develop an answer plan within 20 minutes, you are definitely going to struggle with this methodology, given the fact that you don't have enough practice. Because when you try to implement this technique for the first time, although I'm asking you to develop an answer plan covering all subtasks within a section within 20 minutes, you are definitely going to take 35 to 40 minutes. That's quite normal. Do not get demotivated, because just like any other skill, when you're doing something for the first time, you are going to struggle with it. But with practice, if you stick to our study plan and attempt all 6 mock exams, with practice, you will significantly improve your time management as well as answering technique. So although you are struggling right now, by the time you are in mock number 4, you will see a significant improvement in the way in which you manage your time, and at the same time you will have a better understanding of how to structure your answers. And when it comes to developing the answer plans, you need to understand how many points or how many answer points you need to include under each and every subtask. So in order to determine this, first things first, you need to understand the mark allocations, or how many marks are dedicated for each and every subtask. So as you can see, for subtask A, the weightage is 40%. For subtask B, it's 20. And for subtask C, again, the weightage is 40%. So these percentages give us an indication of mark allocation concerning each and every subtask. So as you know, each section carry 37.5 marks in total. So if you are to gain full marks for section number 4, you have to develop answers which are highly successful. If so, you will end up scoring 37.5 marks in total. So 40% of 37.5 marks come up to 15 marks in total, and 20% of 37.5 marks come up to 7.5 marks in total, and again 40% of 37.5 marks come up to 15 marks in total. So that's exactly what you can see within this answer plan. Let me scroll up. That's exactly what you can see here. The weightage provided for subtask A is 40%. So 40% of 37.5 marks is 15 marks. That's the same, exact same amount of marks which are dedicated for the final subtask. And the weightage provided for the second subtask is 20%. And 20% of 37.5 marks come up to 7.5 marks in total. So now you know mark allocations. Then your next step should be to understand how many points you should include under each and every subtask. And as per the CIMA examiner, as per the examiner's blueprint, each valid point carry 2 or 3 marks. So what you need to do is you need to divide these marks by 3 and then again divide it by 2. So the mark allocation for the first subtask is 15. So divide 15 by 3. You will arrive at an answer which is 5. Again, divide 15 by 2. You will arrive at an answer which is 7.5. So if you come up with 5 to 8 valid points, you will end up scoring 15 marks under the first subtask. Similarly, let's look at how you should determine the number of answer points you need to include in the second subtask. So as per the weightage provided, 7.5 marks are dedicated. Divide 7.5 by 3. You get an answer which is 3. And again, divide 7.5 by 4. Sorry, 7.5 by 2. Then you'd get an answer which is 3.75 or something. So we can round it up to 4. So if you include 3 to 4 valid points, you will end up scoring 7.5 marks. And again, the mark allocation for the final subtask is 15. So divide 15 by 3. You will get an answer which is 5. Divide 15 by 2. The answer is 2. So if you include 5 to 7 valid points under the final subtask, you will end up scoring 15 marks. So by adhering to this methodology, you are making sure that you are developing an answer which is totally aligned with each requirement's weightage. So you are well poised to score the most amount of marks, and at the same time, you are making sure that your answer is not too long or too short. So most students out there, when it comes to developing their answers, they will spend a lot of time on the first subtask. But when you spend too much time on the first subtask, you run out of time concerning the remaining subtasks. And in most instances, if there are 3 subtasks, for instance, within a section, students run out of time. Because of that, they do not develop an answer focused on the final subtask. So let's assume students spend a lot of time on section number subtask A, and because of that, they run out of time. This is when students panic, and panic leads to extreme levels of stress. Extreme levels of stress leads to brain freeze. Brain freeze is a situation where you are trying to develop an answer, but nothing comes to your head. And when this is the case, your stress levels will be through the roof. And due to this fact, when you are trying to, when you know for a fact that you do not have enough time, when you are panicking, you will try to rush your process. And rushed answers are not always the best answers, because you have to have a high level of confidence. And if you are confident about yourself, you will come up with rational answers, because the best type of answers are the rational answers. However, when you are panicking, when you are getting emotional, you will rush the process. Therefore, you will come up with answers which are not well thought out and end up losing a lot of marks. And at the same time, you will never have the time to tackle the final subtask which appears within each section. So you can avoid all these pitfalls if you stick to this answering technique, because as per our answering technique, you are supposed to, first things first, determine the number of marks dedicated for each subtask based on the weightage, and then divide the mark allocations by 3 and 2 to determine how many points you need to include under each subtask. By doing so, you are making sure to develop answers which are totally aligned with each requirement. Therefore, your answers are not going to be too long or too short. Instead, it will be totally aligned with mark allocation. So you won't end up wasting time unnecessarily. So that's the 4th step. You are supposed to determine the mark allocations based on the weightages, because as I mentioned earlier, each valid point will carry 2 or 3 marks. And when developing this answer plan, so that's how you're supposed to determine the mark allocations. Once you have determined mark allocations, you are supposed to develop something called an answer plan, which looks something like this. As you can see, I've not included lengthy sentences. I've kept things simple, because the objective is to actually think. When you are developing this answer plan within 20 minutes, you are supposed to think. You are supposed to think in terms of how you should structure your answer, what type of conceptual knowledge you should bring in, and at the same time, as and when necessary, what type of pre-seen info should be brought into your answer with the intention of enhancing the quality and the value of your answer. So when you are thinking how to structure the answer or the logic behind your answer, you are not supposed to come up with paragraphs and paragraphs of information. Instead, keep it simple, come up with single lines in bullet points, because the objective is to make sure that you structure your answer effectively. So when developing this type of an answer plan, develop it on the answer screen itself. Do not utilize the scratch pad. Why am I asking you guys not to utilize the scratch pad? It's mainly given the fact that you are operating under exam stress, under a time pressured environment. When this is the case, when you have to shift between two different screens, the scratch pad and the answer screen, your life becomes hectic. You will be exposed to complexities. So you have to get rid of all undue complexities when practicing your mock exams, and at the same time at your real examination. So it's essential that you stick to this methodology. So when developing the answer plan, develop it on the answer screen itself. Do not type anything on the scratch pad, because if you try to do so, you will end up facing undue complexities. You are supposed to avoid all these type of issues in order to be successful at your exam. All right, and develop the answer plan on the answer screen itself. And once you have planned out the entire answer, utilizing the remaining time, it could be 15 minutes or 20 minutes, you are supposed to expand each point which appears within your answer plan in paragraph form. So when it comes to planning your answer, I said that you are supposed to come up with bullet points and single line sentences, short sentences like this, but your final answer should look something like this. So as you can see, the entire answer is in paragraph form. So the CIMA examiner tells us to develop a paragraph per answer point. So let's assume that for the first subtask of section 4, you decided to include 7 valid points. So and 7 main points appear within this answer plan. If so, in your final answer, there should be 7 different paragraphs. Do not write the entire answer in one single paragraph, because if you do so, you are not actually helping the marker who marks your paper. Because when you adhere to the CIMA examiner's guidance, which is to come up with a paragraph per answer point, the marker can easily count and see how many points you have included within the entire answer. And also, the marker can see out of each of these points which appear within your answer, how many are accurate and how many are inaccurate. Based on it, he or she can easily give you marks. And when this is the case, you will be on the good books of the marker. When you're on the good books of the marker, let's assume you achieved something like 77 or 78 when all the marks are collated. The marker will feel sympathetic towards you and will try to give you some additional marks, the additional 3 or 2 marks, which will ensure your pass. So it's better to be in the good books of your marker. So it's essential that we stick to the guidance provided by the CIMA examiner. That is why I do not want you guys to write the entire answer in one single paragraph. If so, the marker is going to struggle to figure out how many points you have included, and out of these points, which are accurate and which are inaccurate. Rather than pressurizing your marker, it's better to be in the good books. It's better to listen to the CIMA examiner. Therefore, if you had included 7 valid points in your answer plan, in your final answer, there should be 7 different paragraphs. Alternatively, for subtask B, let's assume you decided to include 4 main points. If so, in your final answer, there should be 4 different paragraphs. So this is the answering technique. It's quite easy. However, you need practice, because just because you know this technique, you are not in a position to implement it on the exam day in a successful manner. Instead, you have to take steps to practice this technique over and over whenever you are attempting our mock exams. It's essential that you attempt mocks under exam conditions. And when you attempt mocks under exam conditions, and when you take steps to practice this answering and time management technique, which you learned right now, you are ensuring that you will effectively manage your time, and at the same time, you will structure your answers properly at your real examination. So these are the 5 steps which you need to adhere to, and dig in deeper into the answering technique. As I mentioned earlier, per subtask, you need to develop a main heading, and each main heading should be in bold and underlined format. And if you feel that you need to fraction out your answer, you can utilize subheadings, and each subheading should be in bold format. And in terms of the typing speed, you should have the capability of typing at least 20 words per minute. If not, you will struggle to manage your time at your exam. So just like what I explained in terms of managing your reading speed, if you feel that your typing speed is not up to par, you have to take steps to practice your typing. So, as I mentioned earlier, purchase your weekly or the weekend newspaper, dedicate 30 to 60 minutes of your time on a daily basis, and type on a computer what appears within the newspaper. This is the only way to improve your typing speed. And also, when it comes to finalizing your answer, as I mentioned earlier, you should include paragraphs per valid point, and each paragraph should consist of 2 to 4 line sentences. You are not supposed to provide answers in single line sentences or in bullet points. If so, you are not going to get any marks. So if you look at the paragraphs which I've included in the suggested answer, you can see that I've come up with 2 to 4 sentences when developing each paragraph. And in terms of formatting, do not spend any time on formatting. You should not be worried about paragraph alignment and whatnot. The only type of formatting which you should focus on is with regards to developing a main heading per subtask, which should be in bold and underlined format, and your final answer should be in paragraph form. So focused on each valid point, you need to develop a paragraph. These are the 2 elements which you need to really focus on. Other than that, you need not focus on formatting. And at the exam, you are supposed to focus on quality, not quantity. I've seen tutors out there speaking about including an X amount of words to gain an X amount of marks, which is never going to be the case. The marker is not ever going to count the number of words in your answer, because as I mentioned in last week's webinar, the examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So think that you are actually working for this company. So at office, when you are responding to an email which you'd receive from your superior, are you going to think about addressing the requirement at hand and trying to come up with the best type of a response, or are you going to think about how many words you include in your response? You are never going to think about the number of words or the quantity of your response. Instead, you are supposed to look at the quality, because when your superior reads through your response, he or she is not going to spend time to read or to count the number of words which appear within your response. Instead, he or she is trying to figure out, will try to figure out whether you have addressed the requirement at hand effectively. So don't think in terms of a word count. Instead, think in terms of quality. That's exactly what you are supposed to achieve if you stick to our answering technique, because most students, what they do is right after reading through the scenario, they start typing their final answer, but which indicates the fact that they are not spending time to think. And when this is the case, halfway through the answer, they realize that they are headed in the wrong direction, or their answer is not really aligned with the requirement, or their answer is inaccurate. Therefore, these individuals end up deleting the entire answer and they will have to start from scratch. However, when this happens, you know for a fact that you have wasted your time And when your brain is constantly reminding you of the fact that you wasted time, you will try to there's a tendency for you to panic, and when you panic, you will try to um, develop an answer which is rushed. And as I mentioned earlier, rushed answers are not the best answers out there. So in order to avoid all these issues and shortcomings, stick to our answering technique, stick to our time management technique, practice these techniques when attempting each of our mock exams. If so, you will be extremely successful at your real exam. So when all the other students are blindly trying to attempt this examination, you will be an individual who is well versed with how to structure answers, because you are spending some time to plan when the others are actually not doing so. So dedicate 5 minutes of your time to read through the entire scenario, and then dedicate 20 minutes of your time to plan your answer or develop answer plans focused on all subtasks which appear within a section, and utilize the remaining time, which is 15 to 20 minutes of your time, to expand the answer plan in paragraph form. And if you stick to this methodology, you are not trying to multitask, because there are three activities involved within each section. You are supposed to read, you are supposed to plan, and then you are supposed to type. So rather than trying to read, plan, and type at the same time, rather than trying to multitask, which is going to drive you crazy, especially when you are operating in a time pressured environment, rather than trying to do all these three activities together, if you stick to our answering technique, you are, first things first, dedicating your time towards reading, then you are focusing on planning, and once you have planned out your answer, since you know what you should include in the answer, typing becomes a walk in the park. And if you stick to this methodology, towards the final 15 to 20 minutes of each section, in which you are supposed to simply expand the answer plan in paragraph form, it's as if you are letting your brain rest for a while. And this rest is going to be crucial when it comes to stress management. I'm going to highlight all these things in the fourth webinar, in which I'm going to teach you stress management techniques. So that's our answering technique. And before we move to the mock exam discussion, in which I'm going to show you how to implement these two techniques in the most practical manner, let me quickly explain how your exam platform works. So as you know, you are supposed to attempt your exam in an online sitting, and you are supposed to attempt the exam via the Pearson VUE system. And we at TCS, we have replicated the exact same system, which gives you the opportunity to get your bearings with this exam platform, and also practice mocks under exam conditions, which is the best way to practice your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. So let me quickly explain how the exam platform works. So once you start the exam, you will see a page such as this, which gives you information about the number of sections which appear within your paper, and the time allocations, and the number of subtasks which appear within each and every subtask, or the each and every section rather. And once you click on begin, you will be directed to the first section of your paper. You will see the title, and you will see a timer at the very top onto the right hand side, and you'd see it, this clock running down from 45 minutes, because as you know, the time allocation for each section is 45 minutes. And you will also see the section number as well, which indicates the fact that out of 4 sections, you are in section number 1. And on top of that, you will see 4 different buttons. So the first button is going to be your calculator, because at the exam, you are not supposed to have access to a calculator on your own. Instead, you are supposed to utilize the calculator which comes with the exam platform. Although this is the case, there won't be major calculations, so you need not really worry about having to utilize the calculator. As and when necessary, you can do so by clicking on this button. And on top of that, you have access to a scratch pad as well. So as I mentioned earlier, some students, when it comes to planning out the answer, there's a tendency for them to utilize the scratch pad. I do not want you guys to use it. You will understand why I'm asking you not to do so in a little while. So for now, just remember the fact that you are not supposed to develop the answer plan on the scratch pad. Whilst reading through the scenario, if you want to jot something down, you can utilize the scratch pad, but never develop the answer plan on the scratch pad. And you also have access to the reference material button, via which you can gain access to all the reference material, as well as there's a separate button focused on your pre-seen document. So once you have read through all this information, once you click on next, before you click on next, as I mentioned earlier, you have access to the reference material, the scratch pad, calculator, and the pre-seen. So all this information will appear to the right side of your screen as a pop-up. So you have access to all the resources in one single place. You will have access to the scenario. And once you click on reference material, or the reference material button, for instance, the pop-up will appear to the right of your screen, via which you can gain access to the additional information. And once you click on next, you will be directed to the answer screen. So as you can see, you have enough and more space to type your answer. And at the same time, you have the same 4 buttons: the calculator, scratch pad, reference material, and the pre-seen. So when it comes to developing the answer plan, start developing the answer plan on your answer screen. Why am I asking you guys to do it? Because you have access to the pre-seen, the requirement, as well as the reference material towards the right side of your screen. So whilst having access to all this information, you can easily develop the answer plan, because when it comes to developing the answer plan, you are not supposed to input long sentences. Instead, I said that your answer plan should look something like this. You are simply trying to plan out your answer or structure your answer, so keep it simple. So when you keep things simple, you can easily develop the answer plan onto the left of your screen, whilst having access to the pre-seen document, whilst having access to the scenario and the requirement, as well as the reference material. So once you click on the pre-seen button, via this pop-up, you'd see that there are 2 different tabs. Under the pre-seen tab, you will gain access to your current pre-seen. And once you click on the task tab, you have access to the scenario and the requirement. So when this is the case, you need not go back to the previous page to gain access to the scenario and the requirement. You have access to the same information onto the right side of your screen. And similarly, by clicking on the reference material tab, you can gain access to the reference material onto the right of your screen. So this makes your life easy when it comes to developing the answer plan, because you can develop the answer plan onto the left, and as and when necessary, if you feel that you need to go through the pre-seen, you can do so. The pop-up appears to the right of your screen. And if you feel that you need to reread the scenario, you can easily do so. And at the same time, if you feel that you need to gain access to the reference materials information, you can easily do so whilst developing the answer plan. So that's why I asked you guys not to develop the answer plan on the scratch pad, because once you click on scratch pad, it is going to be a totally new pop-up. So you'd have to shift between pop-ups. Without doing so, you can easily develop the answer plan on the answer screen to the left of your screen, whilst having access to all the information onto the right of your screen. So once you have developed the answer plan, then close all these tabs and expand each answer plan, or expand your answer plan in paragraph form, thereby developing a paragraph per answer point. And once your time runs out, you will see a pop-up such as this. Or let's assume that you are done with section number 1. There's time remaining, but you want to move into section number 2. You can do so by clicking on, you can move to section number 2, for instance, by clicking on the submit answer button. Once you click it, you will see this type of pop-up. And once you click on yes, you will be directed to section number 2. So the technicalities are the same as what I highlighted under section number 1. You'd see a timer running down from 45 minutes. You are in section number 2 out of 4 sections. The same buttons are there. The only difference is the scenarios information, as well as what appears within the reference material. And as you can see, when you are in section number 2, there is no previous button. which indicates the fact that you cannot go back to your previous section once you're done with it. So once you're done with section number 1, for instance, and let's assume you are in section number 2 right now, when this is the case, you cannot go back to section number 1. So that is exactly why you need to, with regards to time management, you need to think in terms of managing 4 slots of 45 minutes each, rather than trying to manage or come up with a time management plan concerning 3 hours at a stretch. Forget about managing 3 hours of your time. Instead, focus your attention towards managing 4 slots of 45 minutes each. All right, so that's how your exam platform works. And before we move to the mock exam discussion, let me quickly tell you what we offer at TCS. So I'm on the OCS page. If you are yet to create a free user account, click on this button and create one. Once you have created a free user account, you'd gain access to the student dashboard. Click on this button, and under My Courses, you'd see an Access Content button in front of OCS Free. Click on it. And once you click on it, you'd gain access to the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops we conduct. Under the study material tab, you'd gain access to the answer plan focused on our mini mock exam, which is the first 2 sections of mock exam 1, the pre-seen mind map and the syllabus coverage document. Under the mocks tab, you'd gain access to the questions and suggested answers of our mini mock exam. And under the exams tab, you have the opportunity of attempting mock number 1 in its entirety under exam conditions via TCS's exam platform, which is the exact replica of the Pearson VUE system on which you attempt your real examination. So this is the best way to practice your answering and time management techniques, which you have learned right now. So after this webinar, please attempt mock number 1 under exam conditions. Implement the techniques which you learned just now to see whether you are struggling with this technique. You will definitely struggle if you're practicing these techniques for the first time. That's quite all right. I want you guys to be exposed to all these issues when conducting preparations at this juncture, rather than facing these problems for the first time at your real examination. That is why we have taken steps to give access to mock exam 1 so that you can attempt it under exam conditions via the exam platform. So gain access to all these free resources by creating a free user account. And if you are interested in investing on our paid content, click on this button and check our sample material before you do so. And also, if you are yet to join our OCS WhatsApp group, click on this button and join it. Via this group, you will gain access to hordes of free resources, information about the commencement dates and times of the weekly webinars and workshops. And also, whenever you have questions, you will get instantaneous solutions via the WhatsApp group. All right. So having said that, let me quickly explain what we offer at TCS. So we offer 2 packages, the essential course and the value course. The essential course is designed for those who have completed their OTQ exams. So since you have completed your E1, F1 and P1 OTQs, you have actually championed theory. So this exam is going to be a walk in the park. So when conducting preparations, your objective should be simply to brush up your application skills, because since you have learned your theory, you need not really worry. It's simply a matter of fine-tuning your application skills. So under the essential course, you'd gain access to the recordings of all weekly webinars and workshops, 3 mock exams with suggested answers. So you might be thinking as to why you only gain access to 3 mocks under the essential course, whilst all this time I was talking about 6 mock exams. As I mentioned earlier, since you have learned your theory, it's simply a matter of improving your application skills, and you can easily achieve this by attempting just 3 mock exams under exam conditions. And under the essential course, you'd also gain access to the pre-seen analysis videos, so you need not try and decrypt pre-seen information on your own or evaluate the pre-seen. We have already done it for you. And also, you'd gain access to the annotated pre-seen, the industry and financial analysis slides. Let me quickly show you what these resources look like. So in the pre-seen, looking at the annotated pre-seen rather, we have come up with annotations with the prime objective of summarizing pre-seen info, and at the same time we have indicated information concerning the probable exam scenarios which can be tested at your exam, and aligned with these exam scenarios, we have highlighted the syllabus areas which can be tested. And when developing the 6 mock exams, we have made sure to cover each and every syllabus area which we have highlighted within your pre-seen document. Similarly, we have conducted an industry analysis, and our industry analysis slides focus on 4 main parts. In the first part, we have defined your industry. In the second part, we have explained about what real life companies go through within your chosen industry. And we have also indicated industry trends, and based on these industry trends, scenarios will be thrown at you at your real exam. And towards the very end of this set of slides, we have chosen 2 real life companies and explained what these 2 companies go through within your typical industry. And we have also evaluated the financial statements of your chosen company. So we have evaluated the SOPL, the SOFP, and the statement of cash flows. And when conducting each evaluation, we have made sure to keep things simple so that you can easily gain an understanding of the financial standing of your chosen company. And also we have conducted a ratio analysis towards the very end. And again, we have evaluated each ratio in depth to make sure that you gain a clear understanding of the financials of SumTrix, which is your chosen company. So these are the resources on offer under the essential course. You'd also gain access to the top 10 likely issue slides, which indicate the most prominent syllabus areas which can be tested at the exam. You will gain access to a case study familiarization kit. Once you have read through this kit, you will gain an in-depth understanding of the technicalities behind your OCS exam, and you'd also gain access to a tutor-managed live chat via the essential course. So the essential course is priced at just £99. And talking about the value course, this is designed for those who have failed the OCS exam previously and those who are coming through FLP or the exemption route. So both these sets of students have the same problem. There are gaps in theory knowledge and issues with application. So with the intention of teaching you all conceptual elements covered under E1, F1, and P1 syllabi, and at the same time, to make sure that you can easily improve your application skills, we have included some additional resources under the value course on top of what appears in the essential course. So under the value course, you will gain access to all mock exams, 6 mock exams in total, and we have made sure to cover 73 subtasks in total. Once you have gained access to these 73 subtasks and conducted preparations based on the same 73 subtasks, you need not worry about passing this exam, because we have covered everything which appears within your E1, F1, and P1 syllabi via these 73 subtasks which make up our 6 mock exams. And also, you'd gain access to the OTQ revision cards. So after attempting each mock exam, if you feel that you were struggling with a certain syllabus area, you need not spend a lot of time to go through your old notes or bulky study texts. Simply refer to the OTQ revision cards. You are in a position to learn theories in a jiffy. And you also have access to the online mock exam platform on which you can attempt all mock exams under exam conditions, which is the best way to fine-tune your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. And you also gain access to answer plans of all 6 mock exams, which is the best and easiest way to learn theory and improve application and understand how to structure answers and understand the logic behind each answer. So in today's masterclass, I'm going to take you through the answer plan which we have developed focused on mock exam 2, section number 4, subtask A. You will for yourself easily realize how easy it is for you to conduct your revision when you have access to these answer plans. All right. And the value course is priced at just £199. So you can invest on your preferred course by clicking on either of these buttons. And all products are available until the 28th of February 2026 because the next exam sitting is happening in May 2026. And in May, your syllabus is going to change a bit. And at the same time, the examiner will introduce a totally new pre-scene. All right. Having said that, let me quickly take you to the OCS study plan. Some of you have already started your preparations, which indicates the fact that you are adhering to the study plan. So let's try to figure out what you are supposed to do within this upcoming weeks. So as you know, there is a study break between this week and the next webinar, which is happening in January 2026. So within these 2 weeks, you are supposed to attempt 2 mock exams, because our study process is developed based on students having to master a mock exam per week. So we are in week number 3 as per this study plan. So you have already learned your answering and time management technique. Put your knowledge to test by attempting mock number 1 via the exam platform. The objective is to get your bearings with answering and time management techniques. Once you are done with it, you can go through the answer plan of mock number 1 to gain a clear understanding of how you should have structured your answers, and at the same time how you should have brought in theoretical concepts as and when necessary, and brought in relevant pre-seen info with the intention of adding value to your answers. So once you have gone through the answer plan concerning mock number 1, keep TCS's answer plan and develop the answer plan on your own once more. Once you have redeveloped your answer plans, compare your fresh answer plans to TCS's to gain a clear understanding of how you should approach the answering technique. Once you have practiced this, then move on to mock number 2. Attempt it under exam conditions with the prime objective of practicing your answering and time management techniques. After you are done with the mock exam, learn how you should have structured your answers by going through our answer plans. Keep TCS's answer plans aside and redevelop answer plans on your own. After you have redeveloped your answer plans, compare your fresh answer plans to TCS's to further enhance your understanding of how to structure your answers. So likewise, in week number 4, you are supposed to direct your attention towards mastering mock number 3. So I hope you will stick to this study plan and utilize the upcoming 2 weeks to master mocks 1 and 2. All right. So having said that, let's move to the discussion of mock number 2. So in today's session, I'm going to teach or highlight how to implement the answering and time management techniques which you learned right now by taking you through one of the questions which appears within mock number 2, section 4, subtask A. All right, so let's read through the scenario. So before we do so, let's try to understand how to adhere to each of these 5 steps. So the first step is to read the scenario within 5 minutes. So I'm not going to read through the entire scenario because I'm not going to explain how to implement these 2 techniques by taking you through all 3 subtasks. We don't have time to do so. I'm simply going to direct your attention towards subtask A of this section. So section number 4, the time allocation is 45 minutes. Today is the 10th of February 2026. You arrive at work and open the following email from the head of finance. So you are receiving an email from the head of finance which carries the subject which goes as automation and redundancies. Recently, the board became aware that SkiChamp, a key global competitor, has fully automated cutting operations using advanced robotic systems. This change has allowed SkiChamp to achieve notable efficiency improvements, cutting operational downtime and lowering labor costs. So one of our competitors, SkiChamp, has adopted automation and therefore they have achieved various different efficiencies. Consequently, the cost efficiencies achieved have enabled them to offer more competitive pricing. So it appears that SkiChamp has benefited from the cost efficiencies, and the benefits of these cost efficiencies, they have passed it down to end customers via reduced prices. Therefore, their competitiveness has increased, thereby increasing the demand for their products. In response, SumTrix's board is considering robotic technology to automate its semi-automated wood cutting operations. So if you look at the pre-scene, our wood cutting operations are semi-automated. So we are trying to fully automate our wood cutting operations by introducing robotic technology. A cautious pilot will be carried out on the Summit Glide range. This conservative approach will allow the board to assess operational benefits and cost savings whilst minimizing disruption and financial risk. So when we are trying to do something new, we are exposed to operational disruption as well as financial risk. So with the intention of minimizing our exposure to operations related disruptions as well as financial risks, we are trying to implement a conservative approach. Therefore, a cautious pilot is carried out focused only on the summit glide range for now. Wide implementation will only follow if the pilot proves successful. I have done some research and prepared some annual profit figures based on 4 potential average monthly demand levels based on the number of robot cutting machines deployed. See reference material. So let's look at what appears within the reference material. So there's an indication about a profit table as well as a regret table. So within the profit table, you can see that the numbers have been determined based on the number of robot cutting machines to be deployed. What happens if we deploy just 1 robot cutting machine, 2 machines, 3 machines, and 4 machines? And average monthly demand levels are supposed to increase by 100 units per month, 200 units per month, 300 and 400 units per month based on how many robot cutting machines we are going to deploy. And based on the same profit table, the company has developed something called a regret table as well. And this carries the same type of information. You can see the number of cutting machines deployed, along with it, how much the demand is going to increase on a monthly basis. All right, so that's the information at your disposal. So we have read through the scenario. Then your next step is to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a concise manner. So the requirement is to prepare a report which explains the figures shown in the payoff table. And so first things first, you are supposed to explain the figures shown in the payoff table and how the maximax, maximin, and minimax regret decision criteria would be used to select the number of robot cutting machines to be deployed. So 3 different risk attitudes are indicated within the requirements, and based on these risk attitudes, you are supposed to determine what each decision maker is going to go for in terms of deploying 1, 2, 3, or 4 robotic cutting machines. And please also state the number of machines to be fitted as per each evaluation which you are going to conduct, which you are supposed to conduct concerning the maximax, maximin, and minimax regret criteria. So this requirement is extremely lengthy. So it's essential that you simplify it in your own words in a concise manner. So previously, I explained how we are supposed to simplify this exact requirement. All right. And once you have simplified the requirement, you are supposed to develop headings and subheadings. So that's exactly what you can see here. I've come up with a heading which goes as number of robot cutting machines to be deployed, which is in bold and underline format, and focused on each decision criteria each decision criteria. I've come up with a subheading which is in bold format, which goes as maximax, maximin, and minimax regret. All right, so we are done with the initial steps as per our answering technique. And then your next step is to develop the answer plan by dedicating 20 minutes of your time. And within 20 minutes, you are supposed to develop the answer plan concerning all 3 subtasks. But in tonight's session, I'm simply going to direct your attention towards the first subtask of section A. Because of that, I'm not going to time this process. And as I mentioned earlier, before you develop the answer plan, you are supposed to determine how many points you need to include in the answer. So the weightage provided is 40%, as you can see in here. So 40% of 37.5 marks come up to 15 marks in total. So divide 15 by 3, you get an answer which is 5. Again, divide 15 by 2, the answer is 7. So if you include 5 to 7 valid points in the answer, you are going to get full marks. And knowing how many points you need to include, then your next step is to develop the answer plan. So let's try to figure out how you should approach this type of a question. So if you have to gain marks for this type of a question, you need to have a good understanding of what's highlighted within this profit table as well as regret table. and how each decision maker under maximax, maximin, and minimax regret decision criteria will end up selecting the best approach or the best solution. All right. So first things first, let's direct our attention towards the maximax decision criteria. So start your answer by explaining what type of a decision maker a maximax individual is. So as the name suggests, this type of a decision maker is looking at the maximum profitability, hence the term maximax, and therefore this decision maker is considered to be an optimist. So maximax decision makers always think that everything is going to be rosy in the future, and therefore they always go for highest profitability. So the decision maker is an optimist. Therefore, this type of an individual chooses the option which maximizes the maximum payoff. So they are looking at maximizing, or they are interested in maximizing their payoff as much as possible. So these guys love to take risks. So there is a positive relationship between risk and return. Higher the risk, higher the return. If the risk is low, the return is going to be low as well. So maximize decision makers, since they are optimists, they will always seek highest returns. Since they are seeking highest returns, they won't be afraid to take on high levels of risk. And these guys, since they are trying to maximize their payoff, they are looking at the highest amount of returns. The decision will be based on the profit figures. Therefore, they will select the option which gives them the highest profitability, or in other terms, the maximum of maximum profits. So let's try to understand what this is all about. So if you look at the profit table, it gives us an indication of how much profit the company is going to generate under each option. So what if we implement or install one robotic cutting machine, and because of this implementation, our monthly demand increases by 100 additional units? If so, we are going to end up generating $250,000 worth of additional revenue, or not revenue, rather additional profitability. The same could be said about the second option, in which we install just one single robotic cutting machine, but our demand increases by 200 units per month, 300 and 400, irrespective of the demand increment. Our profitability is going to be the same if we install just one single a robotic cutting machine. So our profitability is going to be $250,000. And looking at the second option, if we install two robotic cutting machines and our demand increases by just 100 units per month, our profitability is going to be $120,000 per month. Whereas if we install two robotic cutting machines, and therefore if our demand increases by 200, 300 or 400 additional monthly units, our profitability is going to be $510,000 per month. And if we install three robotic cutting machines and the demand increases just by 100 units per month, we are going to be exposed to losses which amount to $30,000. Whereas if our demand increases by 200 units per month, we will benefit from profits which amount to $360,000 per month. And if our demand increases by 300 and 400, then our profitability will remain the same at $750,000 per month. So that's how we are supposed to read this profit table, or in other words, the profit table gives us an indication of the losses and profits we will be exposed to based on what we are going to achieve in the future. So as I mentioned earlier, maximax individuals are looking for the maximum of maximum profits, given the fact that they are trying to maximize their payoff. Therefore, they are going to go for the option which gives them the highest profitability. And out of all these numbers, the highest figure is $960,000. So this is a profit table which indicates the profits and losses which we are going to be exposed to. by installing just 1, 2, or 3, 1, 2, 3, or 4 robotic cutting machines. And out of all these options, if we install 4 robotic cutting machines, and if our demand therefore increases by 400 units per month, we are going to be exposed to the highest amount of profitability, which comes up to $960,000 per month. And Maximax individuals, therefore, since they are looking for the highest payoff, will take the riskiest decision, which is to implement 4 robotic cutting machines. So that's exactly what you can see here. The highest profitability is tied to the 4th option, which is to install 4 machines, which will generate the highest profitability, which comes up to $960,000. All right, so that's the Maximax decision criteria. And let's look at how the Maximin type of decision makers will behave. So the Maximin decision makers are at the other end of the spectrum. These are the decision makers who are considered to be pessimists. So they are afraid to take risks. Therefore, these individuals will choose the option which maximizes the minimum payoff. Since they are afraid to take risks, they are satisfied with the minimum payoff. So the Maximax guys are looking at the maximum payoff, whereas the Maximin guys are looking at the minimum payoff. So they are taking on low levels of risk. Therefore, their returns are low. As I mentioned earlier, there's a positive relationship between risk and return. So if these individuals are taking on a low amount of risk, then their returns will be low as well. That's why they are satisfied with the minimum payoff. Why? Because they are afraid to take a risky decision. So when it comes to the Maximin decision criteria, again, these individuals will look at the profitability. And by looking at, whilst looking at profits, just like the Maximin guys, these individuals select the option which provides the highest of the lowest profit under each option. So under each option, they are going to look at the lowest profitability. And after identifying the lowest profitability, they are going to go for the highest, hence the term Maximin. They are going for the minimum level of profitability. And out of these minimum profitability levels under each option, they are going to select the maximum. So they are going to go for the maximum of minimum profits, hence the name Maximin. So let's try to understand how these type of individuals will arrive at their decision. So let's assume they are installing just one machine. And when installing just one machine, the profitability is just $250,000. So this, we can consider it as the highest or the lowest profitability under the first option. So under the first option, the lowest profitability is $250,000. And if we install 2 machines, the lowest profitability is $120,000. And if we install 3 machines, the lowest profitability is a loss of $30,000. And if we install 4 machines, the lowest profitability is a loss of $210,000. So you have to jot these things down. So if we install 1 machine, the lowest profitability is $250,000, as you can see here. And if we install 2, the lowest profitability is $120,000. That's exactly what you can see in here. And if we install 3 machines, we are going to be exposed to a loss which amounts to $30,000, a loss of $30,000. And if we install 4 machines, the loss is going to be $210,000, a loss of $210,000. So they are going for they are looking at the minimum payoff. However, out of these minimum payoff figures, they are going to select the best option. So out of 250,000 versus 120,000 versus losses amounting to 30,000 and 210,000, you can disregard the losses. Just focus your attention towards the profitable options. Out of these options, the highest profitability is tied to us installing just one single machine. So I said that these guys are pessimists. They are afraid to take on risk. So the least risky option is to install just one single machine. That's exactly what you can see by looking at the numbers as well. So the Maximax guys are going to take the option which carries the highest amount of risk. Therefore, they are looking for the highest return. the riskiest option is to install 4 machines, because we have no bearings with these machines. We are trying to utilize them for the first time within our manufacturing operations. Still, Maximax guys, since they are looking for the highest returns, they will be okay to install 4 machines. But the pessimists, who are the Maximin decision makers, they will be afraid to take on risk. Because of that, they'd go for the least risky option, which is to install just one single machine. You can see the same logic when you look at the numbers as well. All right, so that's Maximin. Then let's look at how the Minimax regret type of decision makers are going to behave. So these decision makers are considered as bad losers. So just like the Maximin individuals, these individuals are afraid to take on risk as well. And on top of that, they are also going to not just look at profits, they are going to look at the opportunity cost of their decisions or the next best alternative foregone. Therefore, they are going to consider something called the regret table. So previously, we were only directing our attention towards the profit table, but when it comes to the Minimax regret decision makers, since they are going to think in terms of the opportunity cost or the next best alternative foregone tied to each decision criteria, they are tied to each option rather, decision option rather, they are going to look at the regret table. So this regret table gives us an indication of the opportunity cost of selecting the wrong decision. So these guys are considered to be bad losers, so they are afraid to lose. So because of that, they are going to look at the opportunity cost of selecting the wrong decision. If I select the wrong decision, how is it going to impact me? That is how the Minimax regret decision makers are going to think. So let's try to figure out how you should apply this knowledge when reading the regret table which is thrown at you. So first things first, let's look at the demand level, which remains at 100 units. So the demand level remains at 100 units, and based on it, let's try to figure out us implementing just one robotic cutter machine, 2 machines, 3 machines, and 4 machines. Okay, so if we install one machine and the demand is 100 additional units sold monthly, the highest return generated is 250,000. So it's the same, 250,000 stays the same across the board. So that's the highest return which we are going to generate. So we are not losing anything if we implement just one single robotic cutting machine. So the regret is 0. And alternatively, let's look at the second option. Under the second option, we are installing 2 machines and the demand is 100 additional units sold monthly. So we are installing 2 machines and the demand is increasing by 100 units on a monthly basis. All right, so when this is the case, the highest return is $120,000 as per the profit table. So when we have the opportunity to generate $250,000, if we install 2 machines, we are only going to get $120,000. Therefore, we are losing out $130,000 if we install 2 machines. So if we install one single machine, there is no regret, because out of these 4 options, the highest figure is $250,000. So the best, if we are considering a situation where our demand increases by 100 units per month due to us opting for automation, the best option under this demand level is us generating $250,000 worth of profit. Because if we install 2 machines, our profitability is going to drop to $120,000. If we install 3, we are going to be exposed to losses amounting to $30,000. And if we implement 4 machines, we are going to face losses amounting to $210,000. All right, so the best option is 250. So we compare the profitability of each option against the best option. So the best option carries no regret. That is why it appears as 0. and rather than generating $250,000 worth of profit, if we install 2 machines, we are only getting $120,000 worth of profit. Therefore, we are losing out $130,000. And if we install 3 machines, we are going to be exposed to losses amounting to $30,000. So when we can make $250,000, now we are making losses as well. So our regret is $280,000, or our opportunity cost is $280,000. And if we install 4 machines, when we can generate $250,000, we end up generating losses amounted to $210,000. So our overall regret comes up to $460,000 in total. So that's how the regret tables computations are carried out. So I've not explained each and every option in terms of the number of robot cutting machines to be deployed. Instead, I've simply explained installing 1 machine as well as installing 2 machines. When you have accurately indicated this, the marker knows for a fact that you know how the regret table works. So you need not explain all 4 deployment options. If you explain 2, the marker will know for a fact that you know how to read a regret table. So that's exactly what you can see here. I've indicated how to calculate the regret as well. So that's $250,000, which is the best option against the current option, which is $120,000. So our regret is $130,000 if we install 2 machines. So the decision maker tries to minimize the maximum regret. So they are trying to look at the maximum regret under each option, or the maximum opportunity cost, and opt for the decision, or rather opt for the option which reduces their regret. So let's look at the highest regret levels under each machine deployment level. If we deploy 1 machine, the highest regret is $710,000. If we deploy 2 machines, the highest regret is $450,000. If we deploy 3, the highest regret is $280,000. And if we deploy 4, the highest regret is $460,000. So you are supposed to jot them down. So the highest regret for option 1 is $710,000. That's exactly what you can see here. If we install 2 machines, the highest regret is $450,000. And if we install 3 machines, the highest regret is $280,000. And if we install 4, the highest regret is $460,000. So out of these maximum regret levels, the lowest is to install 3 machines. If so, the regret is only going to be $280,000 against 710, 450, and 460. So these type of decision makers, since they are afraid to lose out, since they are considered to be bad losers, they will end up installing 3 machines, given the fact that it carries the lowest maximum regret level. All right, so that's how you should structure your answer. So when structuring this answer, you might have understood the fact that I've utilized my knowledge concerning payoff tables and regret tables. I've not simply explained theory in my answer. Instead, I've applied the theory by considering the facts and figures which are shared with you via the scenario and the reference material, so that your superior can easily gain an understanding of how each decision maker will react based on each decision criteria, which are minimax, maximin, and maximax decision criteria. So a maximax guy is going to install 4 machines. A maximin decision maker is going to just install 1 machine, and the minimax regret guys are going for a safer bet, which is to install 3 machines, which lies between the optimistic and pessimistic decision criteria. All right, so once you have developed this type of an answer plan, as per our answering technique, your final step is to expand the answer plan, thereby developing a paragraph per answer point. So your final answer should look something like this. As you can see, focused on each main point, I've developed a paragraph, and each paragraph should consist of 2 to 4 line sentences. So that's exactly what you can see. throughout this answer. So your final answer, although you are supposed to structure your answer in this manner, your final answer should look something like this. Okay, so that's what I wanted to highlight. I hope you gained a good understanding of how to practically implement the answering and time management technique, which I taught you right now. So I invite you guys to practice the answering technique by attempting mock number 1 via TCS's exam platform. And this mock can be accessed via both paid and free content. And I'm happy to say that we achieved a 95% pass rate in the previous OCS exams, which were held in August 2025. And the highest scorer at TCS ended up scoring 118 marks when the pass mark was just 80. So you can achieve a similar feat if you stick to our study plan and focus your attention towards mastering each of the 6 mock exams on a weekly basis. Having said that, I'm moving to the Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can switch on your mic and talk or drop us a message via the chat. I'm more than happy to help you guys out. You can unmute yourselves right now. So if you have any questions, you can raise them right now. Did you understand what I highlighted under the decision criteria when explaining profit and regret tables? Did you understand our answering and time management technique? Are there any misunderstandings? If so, please highlight them. I will explain everything in detail once more. Any questions, folks? All right. Thank you very much for those questions. I hope I addressed everything. And if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com. Visit our website and click on the contact button and drop us a message. Our admin staff will get in touch with you via email during office hours. And if you can easily email us at info@study@tcs.com. And if you need instantaneous support, simply drop us a message via this WhatsApp number, which is 7898 464196. And I urge you to follow us on our social media handles, especially YouTube and TikTok, because the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops are uploaded to our YouTube handle. And via TikTok, you'd gain access to 6 videos, which is a good pre-seen mind map. So on your way to office, for instance, on a daily basis, keep watching these 6 TikToks to keep yourself constantly reminded of the most important points highlighted within the pre-seen. Similarly, we have already shared this pre-seen mind map with you, which is a good mind map, in which we have summarized the entire pre-seen for your benefit. So you can go through this document on a continuous basis as well. You can download this. If we have already shared this via the WhatsApp group, if you don't have access to it, you can download the document via the free and paid content via our student dashboard. And if you're yet to read the blog post, click on the blog button and read the blog post which we have developed focused on SumTrix. So having said that, it brings us to the end of the 3rd webinar. I hope you gained something out of this session. And as per our study plan, in the upcoming 2 weeks, although we are taking a break, I do not want you guys to waste your time. Instead, focus your attention towards mastering mocks 1 and 2. Attempt each mock under exam conditions with the prime intention of practicing your answering and time management techniques. And once you're done with it, improve your knowledge by going through the answer plans which we have developed and try to replicate the answer plans on your own, thereby further cementing your understanding. And focus your attention towards mastering the first 2 mock exams as per what I highlighted a while back. And I expect to see you guys next year on the 3rd of January, in which I'm going to conduct the 4th webinar, in which I'm going to teach you effective stress management techniques. So I wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I hope to see you guys next year well prepared with the first 2 mock exams, so that we can proceed with our study system. So thank you for joining. I'll see you guys next year. Take care and have fun.